Hey guys, today I thought I would go over some cool chords in the key of E that are really open and you can slide up and down the neck, and I think it just looks cool, it sounds cool on the acoustic guitar especially, and so I thought I would just share some of these with you if you've never seen them before. So, first things first is we're going to do it in the key of E, so let's just run through the chords that we're going to do real quick. So, not knowing much music theory, here we go. This is the chords that we have in the key of E. So our one chord is an E. Then we've got an F sharp minor. Then we've got a G sharp minor, an A, a B, a C sharp minor, and then we won't use this, but like a D sharp sustained into our E again. So what we're going to do is look at some open chords. You don't even need to play bar chords for these. They're just very open, and you can slide them up and down the neck. Alright, so for our E chord, and we'll just do one by one. For our E chord, we've got this. So what that is you're going to play the open E string. Your pointer finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the A string. Your ring finger is going to go on the 9th fret of the D string. And then your pinky is going to go on the 9th fret of the G string, and you're going to play the B string and high E string open. So it's a very open chord. Sounds like this. Now, something cool you can do to throw a variation in that while you're strumming along. Two things. You can take your pinky off that 9th fret of the G string and put it on the 8th fret of the G string with your middle finger. It looks like this. And then put your pinky back down on the 9th fret of the G string. And then if you can stretch, you can grab with your pinky the 11th fret of the G string. And it looks like this. Don't do that. Don't hit the 12th fret of the G string. It doesn't sound good. So you can practice that. You got. But there's some cool things that you can do there. Alright, so our next chord would be an F sharp minor. That would be our 2 chord here. Now to do this open, I'm actually going to show you 2 things you can do here. An F sharp minor, and also with the 2 chord you can actually play a major chord, which sounds pretty cool if you throw it in at the right place. But for an F sharp minor, what we're going to do is we're going to use our thumb and we're going to wrap around and grab the 2nd fret of the low E. Then we're not going to play the E, we're going to use kind of the fat of our thumb right here to kind of mute that A string. Alright, and then we're going to use our ring finger to grab the 4th fret of the D string, and our pointer finger is going to grab the 2nd fret of the G string and leave the B and the high E open. So that is an F sharp minor, very open version of it. And then what you can do is we can also do a major. And the way I would do this, and let me show you something kind of cool variation here. You keep your same thing you're doing with your thumb. Okay, so it's playing the 2nd fret of the low E, and it's kind of muting that A string. Then we're going to do, with our ring finger, the 4th fret of the D string. Our middle finger now is going to be on the 3rd fret of the G string. Now I'm going to still leave the B and the high E open, because watch what I can do. Now I can use my pointer finger to do one of 2 things. It can either go on the 2nd fret of the B string, or it can go on the 2nd fret of the high E. You can also use your pinky to hit that 4th fret of the high E with that one as well. So you've got kind of hit some kind of cool notes there. Alright, then we're going to move to our 3rd chord, which would be a G sharp minor. And it's the same thing that we did with our F sharp minor. We're just moving everything up 2 frets. So your thumb is on the 4th fret of the low E, palm kind of muting that A string. Your ring finger goes on the 6th fret of the D. Your pointer finger goes on the 4th fret of the G, open B and high E. Okay, now we get to our A chord. Okay, Now there's two things we can do here for the A chords to make it sound really open and cool. The first one is up here. Alright, so what that would be is you don't play the low E string. You've got an open A string, and then with your middle finger you go 2nd fret of the D, ring finger 2nd fret of the G, leave the B and high E open. It looks like this. Now a cool thing you can do here is take off your ring finger and put down your pointer finger on the 1st fret of the G and kind of alternate between those two. Alright, here's the second thing you can do for an A chord. Alright, it's actually got a variation. You can come all the way up here to the 5th fret. And so what this would be is you're going to do your pointer finger on the 5th fret of the low E, your ring finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the A, your middle finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the D, and then your middle finger is going on the 6th fret of the G string, and you're going to leave that B and high E open. Okay, or if you're feeling like you can do it, you can use your thumb to wrap around and grab the 5th fret of the low E. You can actually let the A string ring out with this one. And then you can use your ring finger on the 7th fret of the D, your middle finger on the 6th fret of the G. Then you've got your pinky and your pointer finger, these two guys, to kind of do some different things, right? So it can grab the 7th fret, the 5th fret of the B string. You can grab the 5th fret of your pointer finger can also do the 5th fret of the E string. And if you can really stretch it, you can also get the 4th fret of the E string. But then your pinky can get that 7th fret of the high E. And also the 7th fret of the B. Sounds pretty cool. Okay, so those are two cool options. Now we've got the B string, the B chord. So the first thing we can do is up here, which is you don't play the low E, 2nd fret with your pointer finger goes on, 2nd fret of the A string, and you got your ring finger on the 4th fret of the D, and your pinky on the 4th fret of the G, with the B and high E open. Okay, or you can come down here and do the same options that you had for the A chord, just do that again with a B by sliding everything that I told you that goes with that A chord down 2 frets. So there you go. That one, pointer finger on the 7th, ring finger on the 9th of the A, pinky on the 9th of the D, and middle finger on the 8th of the G. Or if you get your thumb, okay, with your thumb on the planted on the 7th fret of the low E, mute the A string, and then we've got ring finger 9th fret of the D, and middle finger is 8th fret of the G, leaving the B and high E open, and using your pointer and your middle finger. Do whatever you'd like with that. Alright, and then the last chord that we're going to do for this lesson would be the C sharp minor. So the two options for this as well. So up here, sorry, that's a Daughtry song, but anyways, we're going to do it here. So we've got the pointer finger on the 4th fret of the A string. We've got our ring finger on the 6th fret of the D string. We've got our pinky on the 6th fret of the G string. And then our middle is going to get that 5th fret of the B string and leave the high E string open. Okay, so that's one way you can play the C sharp minor. Second way is down here. Let me show you a cool variation that you can do. So what that is you're grabbing the 9th fret of the low E with your thumb. You're going to mute the A string with your thumb. Then your ring finger is going to come down to the 11th fret of the D string, and your pointer finger is going to come to the 9th fret of the G string. Let me show you some variations. You can do this real quick, and then we'll be done. So what then you can do, if you're just kind of sitting on that chord for a while, you can do this variation where you keep your thumb firmly planted, but then you go middle finger on the 9th fret of the D, and pointer finger on the 8th fret of the G string. So you can alternate between that first one we did. And another thing you can do is in that first formation we did here, you can also put that middle finger down on the 10th fret of the B string. It's got a nice little sound to it. You can go. And also you can extend that pinky out to the 12th fret of the B string. Alright, so I hope you found this lesson helpful. The only last thing I would say is sometimes you can throw a D chord in here. It sounds kind of nice, gives you some like tension right before you go back to an E. But that D chord would be the same shapes that we learned for the A and the B. You're just coming all the way down here to the 10th fret. So that's kind of the last thing I'll say about that. But I hope you found this helpful. Let me know in the comments below.